Hi everyone, it's Will, founder of Tend. So we're back with another one of our athletes this week. So really excited to have Viktor. So Viktor Thorup is an Olympic speed skater, and also probably it's fair to say Viktor, the world's #1 inline skate coach on YouTube. And Viktor's been a big fan of Tend for over a year now. So pleased to have him here and be asking some questions. So yeah, nice to have you here, Viktor. So I'm going to sort of dive straight in and just talk a little bit around your background. So, for us in the UK, speed skating is quite a niche sport. So first of all, sort of how did you get into it? And tell us a bit about speed skating in Denmark as well.
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me here. Thanks for not just being part of my journey with Tent, but also creating the Tent. I think in speed skating, as well as many other sports, there are very specific muscle groups that are just hard to target that well, and Tent kind of seems to solve that issue, as well as being extremely easy to carry around. So that's been awesome using it for more than a year now. So appreciate that. And yeah, my journey has been a little like in the UK. Speed skating is not a thing in Denmark, so it's just an inline skater to begin with. But I don't think I was ever very fond of inline skating nor ice skating. I know it's not a sexy thing to say out there, but I was never like in love with the sport. I just really liked doing things I felt like I had potential to become good at. So impractical as it was, doing a sport that you can't do in my kind of home country, I think it was just driven by like, where do I need to go to become better at this? And moved to France, did all my high school years in France, and then tried ice skating, found out I was way better at it. And, 40 days later, I won a medal at the Junior World Championships. And 4 years later, I went to the Olympics and finished 5th. And then, it's been skating for me since then.
Yeah, amazing. That is, I didn't, because I associate, I suppose I maybe wrongly associate Denmark as a colder country, so that speed skating is a big thing there. But that's amazing, the sacrifice that you kind of made going to France to build your career. So I suppose at what point did you kind of think, actually, you know what, like I can make a career out of this? Was it, whilst you were in France, or was it the Olympics? Kind of at what moment did it sort of click? And rather than being just like a hobby and a fun thing that you push yourself with, to something where you're like, hang on a minute, I reckon I've got something here.
Yeah, I don't think there was ever a moment, because I often say this when people ask me, like, when did you become professional? I feel like already at age 15, I was an unpaid professional skater. There was just it was more of I worked full time, like 3 months at McDonald's in Denmark, and then earned enough money to go skate in France for a couple of years. So I think I already had that kind of same mindset mentality that a professional athlete would have, just without being paid for it. And then obviously doing really good. 5th place at the Olympics was the best result ever for a Danish athlete in any sport at the Winter Olympics. So that, made me more recognized and gave me the funding to not just skate with a professional mindset, but also having like the financial means to do it like kind of uninterrupted to my best ability. And I think that came somewhere between 2014 and 2018, because I think there's like in the Danish Olympic Committee, they noticed that I came out of nowhere and then all of a sudden like popped into the top 20 in the world ranking, and got funding.
Yeah, nice. And then so that leads me quite nicely onto the Olympics. So for me growing up watching the Olympics, I love skiing, so I watched the Winter Olympics, well, obviously the Summer Olympics as well. That to me is like the pinnacle for an athlete. So when you were chasing that dream, how did it feel? How did it feel in the run up to it? How did it feel in the moment? And then how does it feel afterwards?
I think I didn't think so much about the big image of things, because I feel like it all went so fast. Like, just started the sport and all of a sudden got extremely good at it in very little time. I think, like, obviously because I had a decade and a half of inline skating, which is not that far from the same technique, same muscle groups and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I don't think it kind of like really hit me up until crossing the finish line at the Olympics, like looking up at my parents in the stands with tears in their eyes, and that was like, that was a moment where I realized, okay, this is things grew around me. But in my head, is like, it's the same rink I skate at. It's like, there's a saying, like, it never gets easier, you just go faster. And I think, like, for me, it's just, the sport has never changed. I just go a little faster. So it's always been, skate around in a circle and try and optimize the small things, which you really got to love, because otherwise, I mean, there's months or even years. I've had, I think, 2 years in a row without skating faster than my personal best. So you got to be extremely disciplined with, like, it's not necessarily that you feel the daily improvements, but just the joy of chasing those improvements on a daily basis, I think, is like, that's what motivates me when there isn't that, like, oh wow, that worked every day.
Yeah. And I want to pick up on the motivation in a second. But one thing I just wanted to sort of say is that mindset that you have around, like, it's just my usual track skating around. I applaud you, because I think something like that, I would just absolutely, excuse my language, but shit my pants, because that. So I think, I mean, and I guess that's the difference between an elite athlete and your man on the street, is you have that ability to just block everything out and just be like, it's just another race, it's just another skate on the track. Whereas I'd be like, oh my god, it's the Olympics, my hands are here. So I mean, that is super impressive. So yeah,
I will admit, like, it's not like when I'm at the starting line of the Olympic Games of just another day at the office. I am about to shit my pants. Well, I think a good advice that I got the night before my first race at my first games from my childhood coach. He's followed my whole journey. Often have like longer chats with him on the phone. He said, which blew my mind, because like, it's so easy to forget along the whole thing. Like, also remember to enjoy it. Like, even though you're a pro athlete, I just do it because it's fun. It's like, you go to the Olympics, anything can happen. You can crash the first turn. Somebody can crash in front of you the first turn. It's like, it's out of your control. That's it. You got to wait 4 more years if you even have that chance. But like, if you go into it, enjoy the whole process. And I think in my head, I kind of like would have judged myself if, like, I'm not at the Olympics just for the fun of it. Like, it's super important. I've given everything for 20 years of my life for this. But enjoying something won't make you forget it. Like I just said, like, I skate the same circle hundreds of times every single day. So just because I smile when I enter the rink at the Olympics doesn't mean like I'm not serious. It just means like, and there's studies that, like, if you enjoy what you're doing, you're more likely to go dig even deeper. So I think that was a good advice that I try and carry with me.
No, that is really, really good. And then, sort of, but again, a bit on sort of motivation, well, not so much motivation, more kind of mindset. But, we've spoken about these great highs, the quick success, the best placed Danish athlete in the Winter Olympics ever. But have there been any moments where you've been really tested, something has not gone to plan? And could you tell us a bit about that, and then how you got through that? Because I'm sure it's not all been a bed of roses with one success after another.
Yeah, I think I've been fortunate to never be like long-term injured. I've had long-term injuries, but they didn't stop me. So like, skating is a fantastic sport in the way that it's like very soft. There's no rough impact, especially not if you're good at it. If you see elite skaters, we try and make it as smooth as we can. So I never had any injuries that prevented me from skating more. And I had to bike instead of running as like my supportive training. So for me, it's more been not being successful for longer periods of time, which sounds like not too bad, but it is really hard, because skating is brutal in that way. Like, it's you against the clock. So, like I said, the rinks don't change. So if you're not faster than last year, it's because you're worse at skating.
True, it's on you. It's not like the conditions are different. It's not like an outdoor sport, say, like a ski race, where you could have great snow, great weather, or you
There's
have
no
like poor visibility, rubbish snow. So yeah, true. I hadn't thought about that. It is down to you.
And I did have in 2020 and 2021, I did not set a personal record in a single distance for 2 years straight. So if you take like rest days out of the equation, that's maybe 320 days times 2 years of training twice a day. That's what, like almost 1,400 workouts where it was not better than I've been previously. 1,400 workouts.
I mean, that's a lot. So what kept you going? Like, because a lot of people would just be like, okay, I'm past it.
Yeah.
I'm done. Can't see you later. So what's kept you motivated? What's kept you going?
I think I kept reminding myself, like, a thing that I always had in my mind, that like the harder or the tougher the journey is, the sweeter the victory will be at the end. I think I used that as like growing up, because I felt like, I think it was envious or even jealous of people growing up in the Netherlands, where like there's a club anywhere, there will be people that will teach you how to skate. Like that's why I ended up doing a lot of YouTube stuff to teach people that are not necessarily from the skating community how to skate. So I used to see it as like a challenge or a big inconvenience that I would always have to travel, that I would kind of like have to find my own way. And then now I see it more as like a gift that I get to explore so much, and I have basically all the opportunities if I take them. And that showed me, like, because of all this, like I said, I was fifth at the Winter Olympics. That's, for a Danish person, that's crazy. But at the, like, in the Netherlands, they win the Winter Olympics in at least two distances every time. In skating, it's like there is just, you're another Olympic champion in speed skating. So I think that taught me, like, it's all like your success, the sensation of accomplishment is also like that comes from how big the challenge was. So I like to think, like, and that is definitely when I broke. Also crazy, like the day after 2 years of no personal records, nothing. That race was my first World Cup medal ever. That immediately qualified me for the Olympics and broke my national record and got second at a World Cup, like the best result I've ever had. And that was by far like, when I look back, that was like, I think it's the first time I've ever been in tears after a race. So it was worth the 2 years of.
Absolutely.
Instead, like, it'll be worth it. It'll be worth it.
So then, talking about the, what is it, 1,400 training sessions to get that, that World Cup medal, the guaranteed Olympic spot. So can you talk us through like a typical day of training? How does it play out for you?
That definitely depends on the season. So because the skating season is so dense, like we have 4 months a year where we almost race World Cup, European World Championships, Olympic Games, like just those 4 months. So those are very high intensity, low volume, very skating specific. And then this part of the year, the summer, it's just crazy volume and not very, like, say yesterday I biked 168 kilometers. Today I did a gym session in the morning. I just skated half a marathon on inlines. So it's like very high volume and maybe 25 hours of active training, where it's basically one ice skating session a week, just because we build up this fitness. And then when the winter starts, it's skating every morning, and then the afternoon is more of a lighter bike ride for maintaining fitness, or a gym session for maintaining strength. So it's very, very dependent on the season.
No, that makes sense. So it's basically you build your engine in the summer, and then the kind of explosive stuff happens in the winter. And then the one I always find fascinating is food. Like, talk to me a bit about, like, in race periods, what are you eating? Like, what's the diet?
I mean, the race period is where I actually care about eating. Now in the summer, it's just as long as I eat enough food, I'll be good. Because that's also the thing. Like, my next important race is November 14th. Like, if I weigh 5 kilos extra right now, it doesn't matter. But if I don't eat enough, my training will suffer. So once we hit the racing part of the season, usually 2 months before the first World Cup is where I kind of dial in my body weight, how much fat can I cut off without hurting quality of my training and also just hurting, like, muscle loss. But it is hard because skating it's a muscular sport. Like, I'm a long distance skater, but a 5-kilometer race takes 6 minutes. Like, it's a sprint in other sports. You look at runners, like a marathon is long distance, not a 6-minute event.
No, I only imagine like that. It just it's super powerful, super explosive, but you've got to I guess maintain that power for a long period. It's not a short shot. It's like you got to maintain that power for a long time. And then going back to kind of like so we've spoken a bit around the physical preparation. As I said before, I'm quite interested in the mental side of elite sport. So how do you get into the right headspace before, let's say talk a little bit maybe about the season. Does your mental attitude change a bit because you have this super intensive period? And then how also on race day, how do you get into that right frame of mind?
Yeah, I think that's something I've been working a lot on, because I think I am like a pretty chill person. I think it's a good thing, because there's a lot of stress related to races. Even when racing season goes well, I'm still tired at the end of it mentally, just
Yeah,
because there are things at stake. I know I said like you gotta just enjoy it. I do enjoy it, but I'm also aware like it's important. It builds up cortisol. There's that adrenaline rush. Like it's an emotional thing. Like imagine if you went to your job, and every week it was like either you get fired or you become the CEO of the company. Your
yeah,
paycheck is gonna be tripled or it's gonna be canceled. Like that's a lot of stress, knowing like your entire success is like week by week for 4 months. Um, so I try and be as relaxed as I can, and I think I am pretty chill. I would never do good in like a combat sport or anything. Um, but the thing is, in skating, it has to hurt. Like if you don't hurt at the end of it, you didn't do it right. So you got to put on like this kind of like predator mindset, which is a thing I find easily at training, because I know I go there with the goal of improving. But then in races, whenever it starts hurting, I'm like, oh, at the race, it's not supposed to hurt. It's supposed to be good skating. That's where you want the good results. So, like, I kind of build up a rage like before a race, which I think
yeah.
does not go well with my personality. But like, I put on noise canceling headphones. I listen to some like heavy music. I actually last winter I did boxing once a week, simply just to get
Ooh.
like if you don't get them up here, somebody will hit you in the face.
Yeah,
Um,
That's yeah.
very, very far out of my comfort zone, but simply like, because if not, I would be the person like in my warm up when people say hi or like somebody asks for an autograph, I would sign it. Like, hey, oh, that's super cool. Thanks for coming and cheering. Like, now I'm, yeah, kind of get
You know,
angry.
someone that says, "I am friendly, but please talk to me after the
Yeah.
race." Right. So yeah, I mean that's cool, and I think that just to reiterate something, when you put it like that, it's mental. That basically, yeah, it's like that. You go to work, and at the end of the week, you could be the boss earning all the money, or you could be
Yeah.
fired. And for your average person on the street to have to deal with that level of stress would be pretty tough. So
Yeah.
that's a really amazing analogy to,
I,
and 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 I guess knowing that level of sort of stress, and knowing that you know if you're not performing, you're not being paid. I want to sort that leads us quite nicely into sort of injuries, and I guess it's really important to stay injury free, even when you talk about that. So, what's your approach to sort of trying your best to stay injury free?
I think I do a lot of prehab.
Yeah,
Um, that's definitely a big thing for me, because that's one of the perks of being a full-time athlete is you have all the time in the world, more or less.
yeah,
So I think that's often, I think, surprising to a lot of people. But each ice skating session that I have, there's more than 1 hour of not skating in it. So I go to the rink an hour before the training session start, and then I'm doing a bunch of dynamic stretching, activation exercises, different prehab things for maybe 40 minutes. Also, because skating is extra difficult because you do it in a freezer. Like your muscles, your joints will be cold if you don't heat them up properly. Um, so like, there's no excuse to not do all those things, all the stretching, all the mobility, proper cool down. Um, and then one thing I try and just keep exploring all these smart things like recovery pans. That's where the reason I approached tent to begin with. I saw, you know, I saw a new tool that could probably help me here. Um, so I think it's just being extremely proactive and not waiting till it happens and then trying to
yeah.
cure it.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess, and also I guess, like, and again, I don't put words in your mouth, but I guess it's like the discipline that you were speaking about earlier is the discipline to, even though you're not injured, to still spend that time to do it
Yeah.
every day, every week, every month, every year, to keep going and keep that discipline. But yeah, so you touched a bit on TEND and injury recovery. So yeah, I mean, we're thrilled when you reached out. It's amazing for us to have an Olympic athlete interested in TEND. But how did you first hear about it? Where did you first see it? Like, tell us a bit about your discovery of TEND.
I mean, I can't even remember. I think I saw it in a commercial or saw it shared somewhere on Instagram.
Yeah.
And then I just got intrigued because like I've tried 5, 6 different massage guns, um, and they've like even the ones that worked, they've been clumsy bringing, or it hasn't been a thing. And this probably like comes down to me being maybe better at bringing it, but it's just harder when it's a big tool that comes in like basically a suitcase. Like
Yeah.
when I arrived, even though I try and do everything as good as I can, but when I travel across the Atlantic Ocean, there's like an 8-hour time difference, and I finally arrive at the hotel in China or Japan where we have a World Cup. I'm not gonna like open the suitcase, open that, and then like charge that massive massage gun to get it going. So my first thought was really just like, oh, that's cool. Like I would probably use that more. Um, and then started digging. It's like, okay, it does have like a bunch of other features. And I think like those are some of the things like the tiny trigger point is probably the main benefit I would say now of the tent because skating is there's a lot of balance. There's a lot of super tiny muscle groups that you gotta not just activate, but be really strong in to skate well.
Mm.
And that's where I find like, okay, it hits them well. So I think at first it was really just the size of it that caught my mind. I was like, wow. But then, I kind of unwrapped some more benefits.
Cool. And how do you kind of use it? How do you incorporate it into your training sessions and into your kind of prehab work?
So I think the more sore I am, the longer I use it for. So that can
Hmm.
either be after traveling, but I think the main thing, today's probably the best example. So say this morning, I had a weightlifting session with some kind of range of motion, pretty challenging, and also heavy lifts. And yesterday I biked all day long. So you have that combination of being like smooth, flexible, and also extremely stiff and sore from the day before.
Yeah.
That's where I feel like it makes the biggest difference. So whenever I want my body to be like a soft baby, ready to do some challenging movements, but I'm stiff, that's where it's where I use it the most and feel more kind of I don't know if I would say relaxed, but more mobile. Like
Yeah.
I like my body because that's one thing I would never use other massage tools before a workout, especially not if it has any explosive exercise in it. Same with recovery pants, and I think a lot of people can relate to that. That like you would not do a sprint running and then like stretch right before because you get too loosened up. Same if you go like sit in a sauna or a pool before a workout, you feel like a little too soft and you don't have that like readiness in terms of like
Mm.
muscle. Where I think that's where the tent, which I guess is either the focal vibration therapy or just the tiny trigger point. It doesn't give you that. Like it loosens up, but it doesn't get you soft. So
Yeah.
that's why I really like using it before workout, where usually I would just do massage, kind of stretching things after workout.
Yeah, like I think I when you said about feeling mobile, so I use it quite a lot, saying before working out, and I always say describe it to people. I feel like I can, once I've used it, I feel like I can run fast, I can jump high, and I can lift heavy. Like it
Yeah,
gets me kind of ready to go. And if I have any kind of niggles, those kind of pains go away. But I think you describe it perfectly there. It gets you kind of ready to go, ready to hit it. So now I want to delve into some more interesting questions. This is more on a personal level. So have you ever raced anywhere where it's not just your average ice rink? So I don't know, are there any events where it's like they've turned like a warehouse into an ice rink? Do you ever race outside? Has there been anywhere you're like, well, actually, this is like a really cool venue?
yeah. I think for sure the coolest thing I ever tried as a skater was 2 weeks after the Olympic Games, which goes to say that this was a special thing. Like it was right after the Olympics, where the whole season we had perfect conditions, perfect skating venues. It was all very, structured, measured, organized. We had the World Championships in the center of Amsterdam, where they built a
Awesome.
temporary ice rink at the
Yeah.
Olympic outdoor stadium,
Yeah.
which the idea sounds super cool. It turned out to be 15 degrees Celsius and raining like crazy.
Oh,
So that
no.
was the worst ice conditions I've ever tried. We all skated our worst times ever,
Yeah.
but the stadium was massive. There was more than double the amount of spectators, 33,000 people watching it live. So like three
Yeah.
times more than we had at the Olympics. And it was horrible, but the coolest thing I've ever tried. So yeah, that was probably the wildest experience because it was so far from the usual skating in so many ways.
Yeah. Nice. And that then leads me very nicely onto my next question, which is Netherlands related. What is this bonkers race that they do around the country? Like is it the dry Icel tour or something? I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, the Elfsteden Tocht.
Yeah, there you go. Have you tell because anyone who doesn't know about it, tell them a bit about it. And then my next question is, have you ever done it? Because it's one of these crazy things that only happens once every 20 years or something.
I will start by saying I've not done it because the last time they had it, I was 3 years old. It was 97.
Okay,
So
I'll let you off then. Yeah, all right, fair enough.
I mean, I technically could have done it, but
Yeah.
I didn't feel like that was the time to skate 211 kilometers.
Yeah.
So it's basically called the Elfsteden Tocht, like 11 city race, and whenever the canals freeze, they simply just race from like city to city, these 11 cities in like a wild race. And it just has crazy high status in the Netherlands. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you can ask all the people that go to the Olympics or even medal at the Olympics, they would all say, like, if the Elfsteden Tocht happens to happen during the Olympics games, they're just going to skip the Olympics to skate this 11 city race. And like, you see sculptures, like statues of these people in the Netherlands, whoever won it like 30, 40 years ago. So it's pretty iconic, but sadly, doesn't cooperate well with the global warming and all. So
yeah, well, fingers crossed you get to do it. Because yes, it's something that it seems to be this mythical thing that I've heard about. So I wanted to ask an expert on it. And then, so the Olympic Games. Talk to me. You don't have to mention any particular countries, but when you're there, are there any people there who are just a bit loose? So I give an example. I have a good friend who is an exceptional athlete, but somehow manages to party and still put on a great performance. So when you're at the Olympics, was there any country where you were like, hang on a minute, how are these guys still here racing?
I would honestly say not country from country to country. It's very similar. But I think that's because the sport kind of demands specific things. So we all either we adapt for that or it's just the sport that attract that specific type of people. But if instead you look at it like sport from one sport to another, that's I found it very interesting because like that's the first time I've been at any event with professional snowboarders or skiers.
Oh yeah, true.
And the snowboarders are very chill. Like I feel like they have a lower heart rate than the rest of us.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's just funny things like the Olympic City has different restaurants, and pretty sure you'd find like hockey players or curling players more often at the McDonald's than maybe some of the more like endurance-based sports. So yeah, some fun seeing like different different types of athletes.
Yeah, true. I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, it must be amazing to see because I guess everyone else, the competition is you see the same people every time at the same competition, same sport. So as I have that variety, it must be pretty cool. Great. So then I've got two last questions just to finish off with, which so is more sort of taking a bit of reflection. So the first question is, for anyone who is sort of chasing a specific goal. I'm not saying that's an elite athlete wanting to win an Olympic medal. Could just be someone wanting to hit their first 50k bike ride or whatever it may be. What sort of bit of advice would you have for someone who's chasing that goal to help them achieve it?
I think it would just be like make a good plan. Make it like, because if you don't have a plan, just aim for the goal. First of all, it's gonna, unless it's a goal you can just go out and do, it's gonna seem hard because it's impossible at that moment. It's impossible to you. But if you have the plan, like I said, that's how I stay motivated now that I don't have a race for half a year. It's because there is that plan leading up to it. So then you know that every day you have a pretty big chance of accomplishing your like little goals. So yeah, break it down into things that you can achieve, because then like if the plan is well made, eventually you'll achieve it.
Yeah, no, that's sound advice. Yeah, because otherwise, yeah, if you think like there's no way I could achieve 50k, but if you think, tomorrow can I ride 5k? The day after, can I ride 5.5? Like then it's way more achievable. So yeah, good advice. And then the last question is, yeah, again a bit more on the advice side. Is there something about recovery that you wish more people knew about or understood to help them achieve that recovery? And you don't have to say 10.
No, I mean, I would use the 10. Like the 10 is if you look at like how much you can actually benefit for how little time and how little money you would have to spend.
Yeah,
I would say like you could probably get a 10. So I think that's fair to mention.
okay.
I wouldn't be here if I didn't think so. But no, I think it's like the main things. I think way too many people dig into like very small specific things like, oh, is that stretch better than that stretch? But I think for 99% of the population, even some professional athletes, it comes down to like the very essential things like, do you eat well? Do you get, the right proportions of the macronutrients? Do you get the correct minerals, the correct vitamins? Do you sleep well? Like these things are, I think just like too many people search for these small things they can change, but you need to make sure you have the main things like the sleep, the eating, the training on point first.
Yeah, no, perfect. I mean, I on a personal level, like I have my son Ellis, who's 4 now, and the difference in my training in the last year has been through the roof because he's been sleeping. So yeah, as you say, you can get sucked into these quick fixes, like key things. See these people doing these banded stretches in the gym, like trying to get everything around here. You like to say, yeah, do you sleep? Do you eat? And if you're kind of doing those things, you're pretty much there. So good advice. Cool. Well, I'm going to wrap things up. But yeah, thanks so much for your time, Victor. Really appreciate it. And thanks again for all your support with Tend. And we're going to keep an eye out for you in Cortina.
Sounds good.
Perfect. All right. See you soon. Thanks, mate.